Here's the latest update on what is now Tropical Storm Nicolas. This was just identified less than an hour ago. We've got Tropical Storm Nicolas in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. This is our first briefing on this storm now that it has formed, but we are looking at higher confidence than yesterday in that flash flood threat for at least the coastal counties. Also looking at the potential for some tropical storm force winds and storm surge along our coastline. We will be issuing a flash flood watch shortly. Here's a look at the forecast track hot off the press from the National Hurricane Center for Tropical Storm Nicolas Advisory 1. And you can see the system tracks northwest and then north up and along the Texas coast over the next few days. And then the most likely track takes it inland around Matagorda Bay, thereabouts. There still is some uncertainty in the track. It could be on the right-hand side of the cone, for example, which would keep it more offshore, or it could track a little bit farther inland. Notice also by the spacing of the dots how it slows down a little bit as it does move inland. And so coming in as sort of a stronger tropical storm, we can't rule out the possibility of a Cat 1 hurricane, as was discussed yesterday, but right now more likely a strong tropical storm as it makes landfall. We are looking at a significant flood threat. We still think that's going to be the biggest impact starting late tonight and running through at least Tuesday, maybe longer than that if the storm slows down. This first batch of rain we're getting coming in tonight is not directly related to the storm, but it's sort of going to be multiple rounds of heavy rain, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And again, we are looking at the potential for tropical storm force winds along the coast especially, and across the marine areas, and so we do have that tropical storm watch in effect. Basically, along this yellow line is where we have the watch, and then tropical storm warnings farther down the coast. Just a quick look at the system now. It's got a well-defined area of thunderstorm activity. Getting better defined. There is a hurricane hunter in the system today, and they did find some tropical storm force winds minimally. And so that's why they did decide to go with a tropical storm at the first advisory. And a gradual strengthening is expected over the next few days as it does track up toward the Texas coast. Looking at the wind probabilities now, these are essentially point probabilities of seeing tropical storm force winds over the next 5 days. And where you've got those yellows and browns, those are pretty high probabilities, really including our entire coastal area from Galveston Bay down to Matagorda Bay. Somewhat higher chances closer to the center track down near Matagorda Bay and the coastal bend. But again, we're going to have to watch this the next few days. There is an opportunity for it to strengthen, most likely to a stronger tropical storm, but we can't rule out, say, a Category 1 hurricane. The chance of 50 knot or 58 mile per hour sustained winds quite a bit lower. The key here is to watch for trends in this graphic. Look for any kind of increasing values as we go forward in time. That would occur if we got a stronger system. But you can see, where the most likely location of those stronger, more damaging tropical storm force winds would be down toward Matagorda Bay and perhaps up the coast toward the west end. Storm surge watch has been issued for many of the same areas under the tropical storm watches and warnings. The storm surge unit sees the potential for 2 to 4 feet of surge in these areas. Basically, this is depth of water above ground. I'll show you some of the projections right now from the storm surge model, but there is potential for higher than I'm going to show if the storm were to intensify a bit more. So these values are not too different than what we've briefed the last few days. Here's the Bay entrance forecast, looking now for values more likely 3.5 to perhaps a little bit above 4 around times of high tide. Again, that gray area is sort of a spread accounting for the uncertainty. But you can see the highest of the high tides looks to be Tuesday night, but we could see some higher water levels too as early as Monday afternoon and Monday night. And again, these values would go higher if we had a stronger storm. So, we still do see potential for, even 4.5 feet with this storm, especially Tuesday, Tuesday night. Freeport, much of the same picture. Again, you see some solutions that are up above 4 feet. So once again, we're still looking at least minor coastal flooding those days, and maybe even moderate if the storm were to intensify. Forecast precipitation, it's important to note that the rain is sort of coming in 2 episodes. With the surge in tropical moisture tonight, we're going to see an increase in thunderstorm coverage, especially along the coast, and some of that rain could be heavy, especially tonight and Monday. And so what you see here, just for that period of time, to really today through Monday night, is a solid 5 inches across the coastal counties. I do want to say some of our modeling is showing greater than 10 inches during that period of time. So these values may end up being conservative. And if we do get that 10 to 15 inches, say, from this initial batch, that would, of course, would be enough to cause flash flooding. Because it would fall at a high rain rate. If you consider the whole week, that includes the heavy rain overnight and tomorrow, and then the rain from the tropical storm, then we're looking at values more like 10 to 15 inches, but could be even higher, especially if we get a lot of rain tonight. Not out of the question we could get greater than 20 inches even. And again, the focus is mostly on that tier of counties near the coast, but the threat does extend further inland too. So if you're in Harris, Fort Bend, Wharton County, and so on, you're at risk as well. The amount of rain the inland counties get is one of the more uncertain parts of the forecast. That's going to depend a lot on the track and the speed of the storm. This is just an expanded view of that storm total precipitation. You can see these lighter yellows here of 10 to 15 inches over a large area just offshore. If the storm were to track a little more inland and slower, that 10 to 15 would push more inland as well. And again, this may even be a little bit conservative. So having said all that, the Weather Prediction Center does have this slight risk of flash flooding. This is actually for tomorrow. We do see that risk late tonight, tomorrow night, and then with the tropical cyclone extending through Tuesday and Tuesday night. Right now, a slight risk is indicated. Wouldn't be surprised to see that up to a moderate risk, depending on how things set up overnight. So bottom line is, we think this is still probably the greatest threat from this tropical cyclone. That would be the heavy rain and the flash flooding. But we do expect some gusty winds as well, as we talked about, especially near where that center comes ashore. Okay, so just a summary here. Significant flash flood threat. We want everyone to take this storm seriously, especially coastal counties, but that threat may extend inland as well. We are putting together some flash flood watches to account for this threat. That begins late tonight and tomorrow with this first batch of rain that's going to occur out ahead of the storm. Tropical storm watches in effect for the potential for tropical storm force winds, mainly late Monday and Tuesday as that system moves up the coast. And elevated surf and tides with this system, coastal flooding possible around times of high tides. We do have that storm surge watch in effect. So as far as confidence, we have a pretty high confidence now of some heavy rainfall and flash flooding for those coastal counties, along with tropical storm wind gusts. As you get further inland, the forecast is a little more lower confidence because it depends on the track. If this system were to track more offshore, right along the coast, it would be stronger, so perhaps more winds, but it would take the heavier rain away from the inland counties. So that part of the forecast is still uncertain, but certainly the potential is there for flash flooding, even a fair distance inland as well.